Coming up on this week's podcast, we're talking Villa, Hasenhüttl, and we are each picking a 26-man England squad for this year's World Cup. Gareth Southgate is going to announce on Thursday, plus all the usual features, so let's get started. Hello and welcome to a new episode of View from the Sideline podcast. Chris here, and Liam is here as well. Hello, Liam.
Evening, Chris. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. I mean, football-wise, hasn't been a great couple of weeks. I'm not going to lie.
No, it's improving for me.
Improving for you, but going slightly down. You know, I mean, losing 4 to Brighton was bad, but at least there was an attempt by the team to actually try and get back into the game, whereas Sunday was just awful, if I'm honest. I think the shine is certainly coming off.
Yeah.
The new manager, and I'm just the thing was, sorry, going off on one now. I was looking at the games that he's had since Tuchel's got sacked, and to be fair, he hasn't had the hardest of runs when it comes to league games. I mean, Arsenal was probably the first big 6 test that he had.
Mm.
And yes, he did beat Milan home and away. But obviously Tomori was sent off in the away game. That completely changed it. So I don't, to be fair, I don't think Tuchel would have lost any of the games that Potter has won. So I don't know. It's hard. It's difficult. We got Man City tomorrow night in the Cup. And then Newcastle at the weekend. So
tough run, both.
Yeah. Just one of those things, really, where I know that they're trying to learn from him, but most of the squad are going to be away now for 6 weeks. So that's 6 weeks lost, and I know we've had injuries and stuff, but every club has injuries. It's not, we're not privy to having injuries. Everyone else is getting them as well, but it's just that thing. It reminds me of when Conte was in charge at Chelsea. There just doesn't seem to be a plan B. When we start losing, there doesn't seem to be any sort of tactical change that's made to make us more attacking.
It's been
quite. Conte was like that.
Yeah, it's been a bit boring. Even I think when I've seen you win, it's not been through really good, attractive attacking play. It's been through like doing the basics right.
Yeah. I mean,
just getting across the line. So
even the games he's won, kind of scraped through them. So I don't know. We'll see. It just seems a bit silly now. If we win on the weekend against Newcastle, we might have had a bit of momentum, but the season is over until Boxing Day. So yeah, we weren't even supposed to be talking about Chelsea, but I've just sat there and spoke to him about 5 minutes. So anyway, first thing we are going to actually talk about is Villa, and I guess when you get a new manager in, a lot of players have got a lot to prove, I guess. And then, I mean, if you go out like that every week, I mean, you ain't going to have any problems finishing sort of bottom half. But Man United are a good side at the moment. So, I don't think many thought that you were going to go in that and win the way you did. And to be totally fair, like even their goal was like a huge deflection, so it's not like that they had had a lot of play and stuff. And I mean, Ramsey had a game to remember. I mean, everything that you could do, he did. So yeah, I mean, I was quite impressed. I saw bits and bobs of the game. I saw the highlights, and already you can kind of see his sort of Spanish background when he was at Villarreal, like always having sort of 6-7 players behind the ball.
Mm-hmm.
When you're defending, having two sort of centre defensive midfielders. I think that's the two areas he'll buy if he gets money in January, will be probably another solid centre defensive midfielder, and then another centre back as well. But going forward, I think he would have seen that and thought that there isn't a huge amount that he actually needs to change. I mean, Leon Bailey scored. I mean,
yeah,
but that doesn't happen very often. So
no,
you must have been impressed as well.
yeah, he did make some changes from, I think, the tactical style, shall we say, of Gerrard that sort of lingered in the last couple of games. I think, especially against Newcastle, we played a lot wider going forward, which was good to see. Bailey had a really good game, actually. I personally didn't vote for him for man of the match, but he did get man of the match. Ramsey would have got it for me. Took his goal well, got a good assist as well. I think actually for the sort of holding midfielders, it kind of makes sense to play with two because we've got Dendoncker we bought Dendoncker, sorry.
Yeah.
And Louise started there at the weekend, but we've got Kamara to come back, who I think will be a big player in this system. I think we could do with another out-and-out winger. I think he's still trying to sort of fit Buendia in here and there. Ramsey actually played out wide, and he did have a good game against United. He started out on the right and Bailey on the left, and that did seem to work quite well. But we do lack in numbers out there because we sold El Ghazi and Trezeguet. But I think most Villa fans, and myself included, never expect anything against United. We haven't beaten them at Villa Park for, I think it was like nearly 30 years, which is just a run that we never thought was going to end.
Yeah.
So to do it, I think when we've won at Old Trafford, there's been an element of luck here and there about it, but to actually do it and outplay the opponent, I never thought I'd see that so quickly. Ronaldo was quiet all game. Mings had one of his better games, which he does have every now and again. And, on form like he was shown at the weekend, he would probably be a contender for England, but he just can't keep that consistency, unfortunately, at the moment. But I think he had the better of Ronaldo. I think the midfield sort of central three had the better of Casemiro. I know that United were missing Fernandes, who probably would have made a difference. But they kept Van der Beek quiet. He really didn't have a good game for United, Van der Beek. I think he got taken off halfway through the second half, but he was really quiet. But I think it was down to our pressing. We only pressed in the right areas. We sort of waited for everybody to sort of get back behind the ball, and then we press in a number rather than trying to just run at people. Like Watkins will run all day, but if he's doing it on his own, it doesn't really make any difference. So to see that off the ball sort of tactic change was pleasing, and I think it worked really well because we won the ball back in dangerous areas and we looked good counter-attacking, which is obviously where our third goal come from. So all in all, very pleased. We were even a bit unlucky to concede. It was a big deflection. Nothing really that keeper or Ramsey could do about that. It was just one of those things. And I think, on another day, we might have even got another one or two goals. So, very pleased overall.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you went, Man United scored just before half time. And then obviously to come out and Ramsey to score pretty much within, about 5 minutes of the restart. You could have easily come out and crumbled and ended up being 2-2, if not 3-2 to Man United. So, I mean, the change in your sort of mentality towards the game, you could clearly see. I mean,
that's happened many times before where we've gone ahead against United either by a goal or two, and we end up drawing and losing the game. And it's not just United; it's against a lot of bigger clubs. Obviously, against City last season, it's happened against Chelsea before. And you do fear the worst. So when they scored just before half time, I thought there's an onslaught coming in the second half that just never really materialized.
Never did, really, did it? I mean, just I think you caught Man United on the right day. I mean, they were just having one of their bad days, and you know, you were like I said, you had players there you were looking to impress. So, and they certainly did that. So yeah, I think you know, I don't think it was ever in any doubt that you'd end up going down. I mean, if Gerrard was still there, you might have just made it. But I think with Emery, I think he's going to be long term. I think because the contract's like 3.5 years, isn't it?
It's the longest we've ever signed him.
Yeah. So they obviously thinking that he's going to be there long term, and hopefully he can change it around for you. It's just a shame, like I said, that you picked up the win now, potentially pick up a win at the weekend, and then sort of your momentum is dropped again. So
I think the positive for Villa, I know you sort of mentioned about Chelsea that all your players are going to go off to the World Cup. We're not that good, so a lot of our players are going to stay around. Obviously, we've got like Matty Cash, who who will go for Poland, I think. But other than that,
yeah,
I'm not sure whether Kamara's. He did obviously play at the weekend from the bench. I don't know whether he's going to be fit enough to be named in the French squad. But there was no Coutinho, no Luiz in the Brazilian squad today. Doesn't look like Mings and Watkins are going to get in the England side. Obviously McGinn is Scottish, so that's. I think Martinez is obviously going to go for Argentina, but that's a big core of the squad that's going to stay together.
Yeah.
So hopefully that it's going to be a second pre-season really for them, I think, with this break. So hopefully he'll get some tactical work done on the training ground and can sort of drill it home to the leaders in the group, really.
Right, we will move on to a fresh sacking. I mean, we seem to be talking about someone getting sacked every week at this rate, isn't it? Every week someone else is being sacked. This one probably more justified than some of the others.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the man that's lost. What did he lose? 9-0 twice.
Yeah.
Twice. I mean, after just one of the 9-0s, I think you're lucky to be in a job.
Scott Parker only had one 9-0, and that was against Liverpool.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
But I think the writing, this one, the writing has been on the wall. I think for a very, very long, for at least sort of the back end of last season.
Yeah.
The thing is with Southampton that I don't know if you know this, but I think it was 3 years ago they beat Newcastle to go top of the league. So it just goes to show how things can change in such a short space of time.
Yeah.
They obviously lost 4-1 at the weekend, but to me, it's one of those things where yes, they do sell the majority of their best players, but they never seem to like spend the money very well or spend the money sort of wisely, if you kind of get what I mean. I mean,
yeah.
On this just sums it up really. On Sunday, they played Walcott up front with Adams just behind him. I mean, Theo Walcott, I don't think is an out and out striker for one, but they're really, really struggling at the moment, and it's one of those things where it looks like that the players have lost the confidence in the manager.
Yeah.
And they're not playing for him anymore. I mean, you look at their sort of last few games that they've had. So they've had, so they lost to Newcastle, they lost to Palace. I mean, they drew with Arsenal, beat Bournemouth, drew with West Ham, but then before that they lost 4 in a row to City, Everton, Villa, Wolves. I mean, I can't believe Chelsea lost to them, but they did. So it's, it's obviously the games that they're losing to the teams around them, I think is the worst bit of it. I mean, you can probably justify losing to, the big 6 teams, but sort of when you're losing, no offence to Villa, Everton and Wolves, who at the time were all around sort of those relegation places, I think, that says a lot. And I saw a really interesting thing on TalkSport yesterday or the day before, I can't remember when it was, but they had Charlie Austin on there. and obviously he was at Southampton at the same time as Hasenhüttl. You kind of got the feeling that he didn't really rate him as a manager.
Yeah.
Charlie Austin kept talking about the coaches and stuff and how good they were, but he never really mentioned Hasenhüttl, and thank God we ain't got to say his name anymore.
Yes.
That'll be the best thing about it. But I think it just comes down to a number of things. I think tactics is one. I think buying players in seems to be a problem and an issue for them. And I just think the lack of faith from the players and the manager, I think, is ultimately cost him his job. But like we said, I mean, he's had some heavy defeats that he's managed to actually get through and not get sacked. So
yeah, he's been close to the sack a couple of times, and they always seem to pull out a decent run when you don't expect them to, don't they? But this season, it did feel a little bit different. I think just going back to what you were saying about the transfers, I think you're right. What tends to happen is they buy in quantity rather than quality. Yeah. And I think if they buy sort of 8 players in a summer transfer window, one of those players tends to be good, gets a big move somewhere, and then they use that money to fund another 8 transfers, and it's kind of like a vicious circle, and it just repeats itself over and over again. I think that the transfers they've made this season hasn't helped when I think their objective is to buy young players. And there's no doubt that some of the players that they bought in are talented. I mean, this goes back, I think, a couple of years. I mean, they bought Livramento from you guys, for example. Clearly a talented young player. Whether their mentality is quite ready for a relegation battle in the Premier League, I'm not too sure. They rely very heavily on Ward-Prowse and his set pieces. So I do feel like when they come up against a side that's well drilled in defence, if they're not effective from corners and free kicks, how much creativity is there actually in open play? And I don't think there's much at the moment. I did see the highlights of the game, and El Yunusi missed an absolute sitter from, I think, about like 3 yards out. And I'd forgotten that he was still playing for Southampton. That's how little he gets mentioned. And when you're playing at left wing, you kind of expect to be, a little bit more well recognised for goals and assists. And it's not been coming at the moment. So I can kind of see why they've done it. I feel like it's a little bit of a shame because I don't know how much Hasenhüttl was involved in the transfers or the policy or anything like that. And he seemed like quite a good motivator. I don't know whether he's a good football man, but he seems enthusiastic, on the touchline. I mean, he's a regular gif, isn't he? Let's be honest. But he wears his heart on his sleeve, and I like that kind of passion on the touchline, but I just think they've been stagnating too long. And from a fan of a team that went through something similar when we had Paul Lambert in charge, you can only get away with those surprise results and little runs here and there so long. And they remind me of Villa when we were down and sort of like finishing regularly 15th, 16th. There's going to come a time where you've got to say, right, enough is enough. We've got to move forward and get out of this, or the lack of interest comes through and then you end up getting relegated, which is what happened to Villa because the board weren't interested. So it'll be interesting to see what they do next. I think they're talking to Nathan Jones from Luton. I'm not sure that's where they should be going. I think they probably need someone with a bit more experience in the Premier League. Someone who's a bit more used to maybe playing with younger players, because Nathan Jones, all his good work at Luton has come from sort of freebies of players that have left Premier League clubs or, are meant to be past their sell-by date, but then come for like a second career at Luton. Yeah. So I don't know how well he'll sort of mix in with Southampton's transfer policy, but it'll be interesting if he does get it. Clearly he's a young manager and he's obviously guided Luton to a playoff last year, so it could work well, but I think it's a bit of a clash in styles, personally.
ex-Yeovil as well, Nathan Jones.
Yes. Big link with Yeovil.
Yeah, it seems that they're very much set on him coming in, so I think as soon as Hassan Hill was sacked, it was kind of, for some reason, I don't know where they get their information from, but his name was the one that was being banded around. But they've said that he can talk to them, can he? And they're playing tonight, so this is probably more than likely his last game for Luton. So yeah, so we'll have to just see what happens to Southampton. But now we're going to move on to the World Cup. So Mr. Southgate will be dwindling his 55-man squad down to 26. I mean, I had to laugh at some of the names on there. And he is announcing that on Thursday, I believe.
Not long.
I don't know, have you seen online these football players filming themselves, hearing the names getting called out?
I saw Anthony earlier today.
I mean, Neymar did one. I really don't see the point in him doing one because I think he would have 100% knew that he was going. But yeah, there's a few out there.
I'm pretty sure they all get a phone call to say that they're going to be in the squad at least 24 hours before it gets announced.
Yeah, it seems odd that they would only find out when some man is saying it on live TV.
I'm sure they would have heard beforehand, but it gets them Instagram likes, doesn't it? So
yeah, I've seen a few. I think Japan have announced their squad as well, haven't they? I think Japan did theirs like before the weekend. So so I don't know. I don't know the ins. I've heard that they normally get a call from the secretary, England secretary, to say that they're going. Yeah. So here is how it's going to go. You've got your 26-man squad, I believe.
I do.
I have mine. And instead of us both going through ours, Liam's going to say his, and then any that I have different will then have a look at why they're different.
I'm hoping. First of all, I'm hoping my maths has worked out properly. I do have 26 players. Knowing me, I've left myself short. But I'm going to try and go through them in sort of position order.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start with the 3 goalkeepers. I'm assuming you picked 3 goalkeepers as well.
Yeah.
I think they're probably the same. I'm going for Pickford, Ramsdale, and Pope.
Mm-hmm.
As my 3 goalkeepers. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I've got 10 defenders.
I've got 9, so...
Okay, so there's a difference already here. So tell me when you don't have one of these. So I've got Trent Alexander-Arnold.
No.
You've not gone for Trent?
No.
Interesting.
We'll come back to him in a minute.
Okay, I've gone Kieran Trippier.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle Walker.
Yeah.
I've gone for Tomori.
So did I,
Ben White. John Stones.
As well, yeah.
John Stones. Eric Dyer. Joe Gomez. Joe Gomez is probably not in your squad, I'd imagine. Right. Luke Shaw and Matt Targett.
You've gone for Targett.
No, I know Matt Targett won't be in your squad, but they're my 10 defenders.
Okay, so that one. Okay, so cool.
My
midfielders.
So I've gone, these are all sort of central midfielders. So I've gone for Declan Rice.
Yeah.
Jordan Henderson.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone for Conor Gallagher, just because I know it'll make you happy. Mason Mount, Jude Bellingham, Phil Foden, and James Maddison. I think he deserves a go. And then finally, I've gone for strikers and wingers in the same.
Yeah.
I've gone for Grealish, Sterling, Saka, Abraham, Tony, and Kane. And that's my 26 men. I think that's 26 people.
Right,
I've several times.
So we do have some contrast here. So you didn't say Harry Maguire, did you?
I didn't say Harry Maguire, no.
Right. I did say Maguire just purely because I think he'll go. I think Southgate trusts him.
I base this not on what I think Southgate will pick. This is on what I think should go.
Yeah, I would still take him. We'll go through some of the other ones. Gomez.
Yeah, I just think he's been on decent form for Liverpool the last sort of few games. I thought he played really well against Man City. And I think if anyone's going to help Alexander-Arnold at right back. I think it might be having his Liverpool teammate near him.
Matt Targett was an interesting one.
I only had one left back, didn't I? It would have been Chilwell. It would have been better Chilwell, but I thought I'd try and balance it out. I don't like playing Trippier at left back, which Southgate likes to do. So I thought I'd just put another backup in there.
So we're now left for the age-old debate of who was better, Trent Alexander-Arnold or an injured Reece James. I've gone for James. Now, James was a late addition to this squad. I did have Trent, but I don't know if you've seen, but they reckon James could be back within the next 3 weeks.
If he's fit, I would probably go with
James. So this would mean that he would technically miss the first 2 England games, but if all goes to plan, he could be ready for the 3rd game. Now, he obviously hasn't played for Chelsea for a few weeks, so there is going to be some rust there. But I think James gives you everything that Alexander-Arnold gives you, but James gives you more from a defensive point of view. Now, I know Trent can make an 80, 90-yard pass. That's fine, but I think it'll be interesting because if he plays the 5 at the back, I think James is best suited at right wing back. But saying that, if he plays the 4 at the back, I think he'll go with Trippier.
Yeah, I think he will as well.
But saying that, James, I would take the risk and take James, knowing that he will be, even if he's not ready for that 3rd group game, and we are still there, I think he's better to have than what Trent would be. I can hear all the Liverpool fans now.
I personally, if James would be fit for game 1, I would take him.
Yeah.
But I don't think you can risk, even if it's just a couple of games and you expect to get through. It does seem just like a bit of a waste of a person in the squad.
I know what you're saying, but then you've got Trippier anyway.
You have Trippier. Sure. I'd pick Kyle Walker as well, who can obviously play at right back as well.
I think even if say James doesn't go, which I think it's probably more swaying towards Trent going than James. I still think Trippier plays ahead of Trent. I think because I've got a feeling that if Kyle Walker goes, he's going to be used. If they play a 5, he'll be used at centre back, not at right back. Because I think that he'll be keen on having Walker, Stones, and one other, probably Maguire. I personally, if he was going for 5, I'd go for Walker, Stones, and Tomori, but that's just me. So, and anyone saying I'm biased, I didn't put Gallagher in this team.
I'm surprised.
I put Ward-Prowse in.
Yeah, it was between the 2.
Yeah, so the reason behind it is I know Gallagher is a Chelsea player, but that boy has frustrated the hell out of me this season with some of his performances. He's so hot and cold. You never really know what you're going to get. Now, with Ward-Prowse, you're thinking, you get to a semi-final, 119th minute, you bring Ward-Prowse on to take a penalty. I've got more confidence of Ward-Prowse scoring that penalty than I would Gallagher.
Yeah.
I don't think that Ward-Prowse is going to play a huge amount, but I think he's a good to have if needed. I really wanted to put Ruben Loftus-Cheek in this team, but I just couldn't fit him in. I did a little mini reserve, just in case someone gets injured, and he's at the top of that list, purely on the basis of his versatility. So
Yeah,
for Chelsea, he has played in the last sort of 6-7 months. He's played centre back, he's played right back, he has played in midfield, he's played attacking midfield, he's played defensive midfield. I'd take him over Gallagher. But that's
interesting.
just preference.
I think it was close for me. I think the reason I went for Gallagher was because we've got a lot of midfielders that are either defensive or attacking, and I think he's somewhere between the two. And I think he gives you a nice balance. If you're going to play Rice as like a holding midfielder or Henderson as a holding midfielder, and you're going to play Bellingham, and I think probably Rice and Bellingham are both going to be on the team sheet. To have someone that's sort of in between the two would be quite useful. I think Ward-Prowse does give you that as well. And I get what you're saying about the set pieces and things like that. And yes, the penalty taking, I agree, Ward-Prowse is a good person to have. The reason that I didn't go with that is because we're not a particularly big side. And for corners and things like that, I don't think we really offer that much. Not these days. We did sort of 4 years ago in the last World Cup, obviously with the old love train that Southgate had going. We were dangerous from set pieces, and I don't think we have been for a while now. So that's why I left Ward-Prowse out, because even though he is great at set piece delivery, I don't think we've got the players in the box to make it effective. So that's the reason I left him out. But it was very close.
Yeah. So you chose an extra defender.
Yes.
And I've put Rashford in the team.
Yeah, I did have a look, and I thought about taking Target out and bringing in an extra forward. But the reason I didn't was because A, I quite like a backup left back who is left footed, and B, I think with Foden and Maddison in the side, they can both play out wide if they need to. So I kind of had 5 wingers with Grealish, Sterling, and Saka, and I didn't feel like I needed another one.
It's going to be interesting come Thursday. I don't see there being any huge surprises. I mean, I've seen Danny Welbeck was on the 55-man team sheet. I don't think he's expecting a call, to say the least. So, I mean, I'm not sure what time it is on Thursday that he's announcing it. Normally it's like around 2:00 in the afternoon, but normally someone gets hold of it, don't they? And leaks it. So, I mean, it'll be interesting. And to think that it starts literally, I mean, our first game is less than 2 weeks away.
Yeah.
It is mad, really. But yeah.
Did you have the same 3 strikers as me? Abraham, Tony and Kane?
I did, yeah. The only I think the only one there, he's second on my list of players, backup players, was Callum Wilson.
Same.
It's difficult, really, because I'm always under the illusion that you want in your number 9 to be, good in the air.
Yeah.
Just because of the crosses, and I think Abraham and Tony give you, even though they're probably a carbon copy of each other, I've always thought to myself, well, it's the wingers that need to be doing all the running and putting the balls in.
Yeah.
I just think those two are better. And they've, especially with Abraham, he's been a regular for England. He's almost been the number 2 to Harry Kane, hasn't he, since Vardy sort of retired. So, I think Abraham will definitely go. It might be closer than we think between Tony and Wilson, but I personally would only take 3 strikers. Because the thing is with strikers, Harry Kane's gonna play. I mean, if it comes down to the 3rd group game and we're already through, I'm sure that'll be sort of a game where he rotates and tries a few different things out. So, I mean, if that doesn't happen, Kane will be starting every single game up until whenever they get knocked out. So it's interesting. I think there is a few on there. I'd say of the 26, I'd say at least 2021 are, well, the ones that we agreed on. I would assume that are going, but you never know. There might be some interesting.
It amazes me how quickly things change, because I think 12, 18 months ago, that second striker spot was up for grabs, and it looked for all the world like Calvert-Lewin was going to just take it and run with it, and he's nowhere near any of our teams.
Injuries, isn't it?
Injuries, I suppose, and then he's not really hit that form since he's come back, has he? So
I think he's at the wrong club. He's at the wrong club, really, and need to do that. But I mean, for people like Abraham and Bellingham, I'm almost 100% sure that they're going, and they obviously play abroad. So so we'll see what happens on Thursday. But that's the end of part 1. We'll be back in part 2 with some Wonders Are White, Who Am I, and a quiz. There's no gimmicks to the quiz this week, Liam. It's a 2018 World Cup Russia quiz.
Oh, wonderful.
So we'll see how you get on. So we'll be back in part 2. Hello and welcome back to part 2 of this week's episode. So we're going to go straight into Wonders Are White. And this one is about Mo Salah. So Mo Salah has 19 goals and assists after 20 games in all competitions for Liverpool this season. Which actually in his 6 seasons he's been with the club, he's only managed that once before after 20 games. So he's gone under the radar a little. It's because Haaland is scoring so many goals. Everyone's just forgotten how good Salah is.
Yeah.
Crystal Palace have gained more points from losing positions than any other side in the Premier League this season.
And another good win for them this weekend.
Yeah. This one's a Villa one. Unai Emery is just the 4th manager to win his first league game in charge of a team against Manchester United. 3 other managers have done it. Dave Bassett for Sheffield United in 92, Jose Mourinho for Chelsea in 2004, and this one, Alan Kirbychley for West Ham in 2006.
Wow. What an elite list.
Yeah. And last but not least, so James Maddison has been directly involved in 22 Premier League goals in 2022. So it's 13 goals and 9 assists. Only Harry Kane, De Bruyne and Son have had more in that time span. So
I'm not saying he's like the missing piece to the puzzle.
Oh no, he's gonna go. I think
he's got to be included.
Yeah. Cool. That's it for Wonders Are White this week. And now we are moving over to the quiz. I mean, last few weeks we've had a little gimmick with the quiz. This week it's straight talking 2018 World Cup quiz. Some difficult, some easy, some multiple choice.
Okay.
I reckon you'll get 7 of these. Depends how good your memory is, I guess.
Not great. There was a few
easy for me to say because I've got the answers in front of me. And I've read up a lot about that World Cup. So, and there's also a political question in there as well. So who won the 2018 World Cup?
That would be France.
Yeah, see, easy. 1 point left. Can you name me one of the 3 teams who got 9 points in the group stage?
Oh.
So I'll let you have 2 guesses on this one, but you need to find one team.
I was about to say England for a minute, but we didn't because we lost to Belgium, didn't we? So I'm going to say Belgium.
Yes, Belgium is one of the 3.
I'll have a stab at the other 2.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Brazil.
Oh.
Okay. And my final guess would be France would be too easy. So I'm going to go with Spain.
No.
Oh.
The other two teams were Uruguay and Croatia.
There we go. Never would have guessed that.
You still got a point then. Who won the Golden Boot?
Harry Kane.
Harold Kane did win it. He got 6.
Most of them against Panama.
Let's say did get most of them against Panama. So in probably what was the game of the tournament, France beat Argentina by 4-3. But who scored twice in that game?
Oh, that's tricky. I want to. I'm just trying to cast my mind back to that. I remember. Was it Pavard scored?
Yeah, he did score, and it was a screamer as well.
And then I want to say Mbappe definitely scored, but did he score? I'm going to say he scored 2.
He did score twice. Pavard scored. I think it was voted goal of the tournament as well.
It was a thunderbolt, wasn't it? I remember that.
So, a multiple choice one here. How many own goals were scored at that World Cup? Was it 8, 10, or 12?
I'm going to go with 8.
It was 12.
Ooh.
Another multiple choice one. So, of the 11 All-Star team, so that was the 11 best players at the World Cup,
Yep.
How many currently play in the Premier League?
Tricky.
Is it 3, 5, or 8?
Well, Kane had to be in there, didn't he? Because he was top scorer. But other than that, the players that I remember playing well, Modric, Mbappe. And there aren't that many French or Croatian players that stand out that are in the Premier League. I'm going to go 3.
3 is incorrect.
Oh, no.
It was 5. I'm just trying to find the list because I've lost the list. Hang on. All-star team. Here we go. So 3 of them are actually defenders. So Thiago Silva, Varane, and Mina. Coutinho was on there, and Harold Kane was also on there. The others were Courtois in goal, Andreas Gronqvist of Sweden.
Oh, yeah, what a World Cup he had.
Denis Cheryshev of Russia.
Yeah, I remember.
Luka Modric, Antoine Griezmann, and Eden Hazard.
Fair enough. I didn't know whether Lukaku.
And so that was the All-Star team, and that was by FIFA. They also did a fan-led dream team, which consisted of Courtois, Marcelo, Silva, Varane, Godin, De Bruyne, Coutinho, Modric, Kane, Mbappe, and Ronaldo. I don't know why Ronaldo's on that list.
I don't remember him doing much in that tournament.
No. Cool. Next one is another multiple choice one. I'm sorry about these multiple choice ones. How many goals were scored at the tournament? 150, 169, or 185?
Well, as I've gone under for everything, I'm going with 185.
I'm afraid to say that's wrong.
Oh, no.
169. Okay, so England beat Panama 6-1 in the group stage, but which defender scored twice in that game?
It's 1 or 2. No, I'm going to stick with it. John Stones.
Was John.
It was either Stones or Maguire, and they both had a decent tournament.
This one's quite interesting. So, why did Theresa May advise ministers and royal family not to attend the World Cup in 2018?
Ooh.
I'll give you a clue on this. It's something that happened not too far from where we live. It's
in
the middle.
It was the poisonings.
Yes.
Wasn't it?
So, a undercover Russian spy. She's Russian, but works for the British intelligence. So, yeah, that's where they got poisoned, didn't they?
Yes.
Yes. So, she told them not to travel to Russia just in case. So you got that one right. And, so what did Germany do at the World Cup, which they had not done since 1938?
I want to say they didn't. It's either they didn't get out of the group or they didn't get to the quarterfinals. I'm going to go they didn't get out of the group.
Correct.
I remember watching the South Korea game that they lost.
They scored twice in the 90th minute, didn't they?
Yeah, a brilliant game.
Son scored. Well, I think I'm the winner here because I said you'd get 7 and you did. So,
Well done.
All props to me. Right, cool. So there'll be one more quiz next week that Liam's going to do before we go on like a. I mean, we're not going to the World Cup. It's not won't be doing a podcast until the new year, which sounds crazy, really, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah.
On a Christmas break.
I mean, if anyone wants us to go to the World Cup, I mean, we're more than welcome to do a live podcast from Qatar.
Anyone can get us in the England
Message me.
as journalists, so I'd more than happily do that. You know, sneak me in one of the inflatable unicorns. I think that would be lovely. Please do let us know. But I do have a who am I to finish, Chris?
Yes, let's go.
So I'm gonna leave a team out of this one because I can use it as a clue later if you don't get it, but I think it makes it too obvious if I include them. So this player has retired, so I'm going to read every team apart from one. So they started at Leeds United.
Not another English one.
They then moved to Newcastle. They then went to a team that I'm not going to tell you.
Okay.
After that team, they went to Middlesbrough on loan to begin with and then permanently. And then final 3 teams they went to were Spurs, Stoke City and Middlesbrough again.
Oh, blimey. 2 trips to Middlesbrough.
I mean, if you're counting the loan as a separate trip, there's 3. But yes, 2 trips to Middlesbrough. I think it was a loan, but they'd already agreed a fee. So I'm going to say 2.
Interesting. Now this is a tough one.
I think if you want to know a time period in which they played for any of those teams, I'm happy to give you that as a clue. And then if all else fails, I can give you the missing team.
So I can't have the missing team.
Maybe a little bit later. If you don't get it based on the years.
Tell me when they were at Spurs.
So they were at Spurs between 2008 and 2011. And just because I'm feeling charitable, they played 49 times and scored 2 goals.
2008. Which is interesting because that's the year Tottenham last won a trophy.
I'd like to get that in there, just to let all the Spurs fans know.
Which means they more than likely would have played against Chelsea in that Carrow Cup final. I mean, unless I go through the whole bloody team sheet, I'm never gonna know, am I?
Would be the missing team.
Is it really obvious?
Quite possibly.
Good.
I mean, looking at their CV, this team stands out like a sore thumb.
Okay. Trying to think of some players. I don't know why I've got bloody Pavlyuchenko like stuck in my head at the moment.
It's because of the
But it's not Pavlyuchenko.
No, it's because of the 2 goals in 49 games. I think that's about his record.
Right. So if he only scored twice in 49 games, that would make him a very defensive midfielder or a centre back. And I would assume that is probably the same time that Ledley King, oh my God, I can't even say it. Ledley King was playing, but he didn't play for any of those teams. So the only other player I know that's played for Leeds as well. He actually scored in that final. If I guess I get it wrong, I look stupid. I mean, if I guess and it's wrong, can I have another guess?
Yeah, I suppose we go until you get it.
Right. So the only person that I can think of around, so if he played in that Carling Cup final, the person I'm thinking of actually scored. That's Jonathan Woodgate.
Correct. It is indeed Jonathan Woodgate. Well done. I was just frantically looking up whether he did score in the League Cup final, and he did. Yes, you are.
So that would mean that I'm assuming the club that you didn't mention was Real Madrid.
Yeah. So I was going to sort of say he was at this unnamed club for 3 years and only made 9 appearances. And I
mean, he had the worst start. Didn't he get sent? He scored. Didn't he? He got sent off, didn't he?
He got sent off and scored an own goal.
Oh, yeah.
On his debut.
Yeah. If you would have given me Real Madrid, I would have got that.
Yeah.
Without hesitation.
So it cost a lot of money in his career, just looking at it. So Newcastle bought him in January 2003 for £9 million. He only played for them for just over a year before going to Real Madrid for £13 million, which was quite a lot back in 2004. And then he was just basically injured for the entire time. And no one really bought him again. He was obviously like really highly thought of and playing for England back then, and he was still quite young. But yeah, only scored 9 league goals in his career. Jonathan Woodgate. He only scored for Leeds, Spurs, and Middlesbrough. Didn't score anywhere else. So yeah, you were unlucky to be on the receiving end of a Jonathan Woodgate goal.
I mean, they would have been looking for a trophy for a long, long time if he hadn't scored that goal.
Yeah.
He was offside, by the way. To clear it up.
That's good to know.
If VAR was around, it never would have counted. So yeah. Cool. Right. Well, that's it for this week. We'll be back next week for the last podcast before we disappear for a few months whilst the World Cup's on. And then I guess we'll be back sort of the start of January, maybe.
Yeah. We'll have our next one in 2023.
So yeah, so we'll be back next week.